Hello there! I'm Squire Callahan Ridgeborn, almost a Battlemaster, always a wizard, and tonight I am joined by Haj of Polaris. Haj is a Archmage, meaning he has all four caster Paragons. Haj, welcome back to the show. It's so great to have you back on.
Thank you, Callahan. Thank you for having me here.
So, if you are just joining us for the first time, Haj actually was one of my very earliest interviews, and so we're going to forgo with some of the sort of get to know you questions, but you can check out Haj's original video. There'll be a link down here in the description, and we're going to jump right in with possibly the hardest question that I have. Haj, what is the fictional character that best represents how you play Wizard?
Hmm. Um, oh geez. I must have brain fogged over this question because I didn't think about that too much. I don't really know about like media, modern cultural references and things like that. I don't. I'm like a bounty hunter. I don't know.
Okay.
That's how I think of when I play Wizard. So if you know of, I don't know, a bounty hunter in popular media, but that's how I like to play Wizard. I
Okay.
acquire targets, and then anyone between me and that person is a speed bump. Neutralize them. You don't need to finish them off, but you do need to go and get your target.
Haj, what made you start playing Wizard?
Capacity. It must have been because the first time I played Wizard was at a Phoenix League game in Rakkus. I had been mentally playing Wizard for a couple years at this point in my head because I was actively playing healer. That Phoenix League game, we did not need a healer. We needed a wizard.
Hmm.
It was the first time I put on a yellow sash. And because I had played it in my head for years at that point, I was very proficient the first time I picked it up to a point where I sort of impressed myself. It made me understand that I could do this for all the classes
Hmm.
and that it was right then when I played Wizard at Phoenix League at Rakkus that I wanted to be an Archmage. I wanted all of the Paragon casters.
Okay.
And I guess why was I playing it in my head for 2 years? Because it's so much very different than Healer, which is what I was playing at first. Healer, you have all the support, you have all the answers. Wizard, you get to ask all the questions. You get to present all of the problems.
Okay. What motivates you to play Wizard today?
So, yeah, similarly, I guess just this weekend I was playing healer because I'm like, I love Amtgard battle games. I want to play some Amtgard battle games. They are fun. And some casters were rightfully targeting me, and I was unable to best them in verbal combat because they have tools like break concentration,
Hmm.
which just are gonna get you if you're a healer. So in the next game, I was desiring more power. So I flipped the sash around to the yellow side. And yeah, it's dual sided. I love this one.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, Cathandra from Taldegor made this sash. It's awesome.
So
Um,
cool.
yeah, dude, it was a gift from Vitalin, one of the Paragon wizards from up here in Polaris. So I desired more power in that later game, and I decided I needed to be able to have some more agency against these casters if they came up to me. I decided I wanted to win that fight. So now I have the break concentration. I have all the tools. I guess that's the thing with Wizard is you have so many more options to do many more variety of things. And you have a great opener, which is break concentration, which will ensure that you can land a whole combo on somebody.
Okay. Do you think that's what really makes Wizard unique from all the other casters? Is that opener and the combos?
I think it's the combos and the variety you have. So as a wizard, if I have a variety on my spell list, then I can deal with nearly any problem in front of me, regardless of the immunities. So if I have a paladin in front of me,
Hmm.
I can icy blast them, heat weapon, pyrotechnics. Whereas if I'm a druid, well, I guess that's not really great because they have icy blast and heat weapon. But you simply have more available tools to use. You have a greater variety of spells with different schools that you can apply to different scenarios based on your opponent's immunities. Whereas pyrotechnics might not work on the Flame Blade anti paladin, the icy blast will.
Yeah.
Even and wounding works on anti paladins where it doesn't work on paladins. I love wounding. Gets through the armor, and it helps you create bad positioning in your opponents because they're not able to move as well if they're wounded. So you wound them and then shove them in a way that disadvantageously positions them.
Mm-hmm.
And combos like that. Like so with healer, if you look at a combo that would be similar would be hold person shove. But hold person is a lot easier to remove for many more classes than wounding is. And then even if they don't have a way to remove it, it removes itself after 30 seconds.
Right. What roles do you think wizard fills the best?
DPS for sure also can do support very well. Wizard does DPS just about as well as some of the DPS focused martial classes. The difference is that you don't get any armor, so your defense is a lot lower.
Mhm.
But depending on how clearly and quickly you're able to say the spells, you are able to affect many targets at a great distance. But you are very susceptible to stray arrows. So positioning is very important for wizards. You want to make sure that you are with a buddy. And then for that reason, though, is also why support wizards very good. Wizards do get mend and spadoinkle. Wizards get mend at a very low level, level 1, which is lower than bard or healer, but is the same as druid. And many people will go to their healer or their druid for mend. Wizard is a better option than healer, and although healer wizards less often take it than healers, I think that it's better just because it's a lower level point. Yeah, so wizards also work very well if you want to be like up with somebody who's a tank and releasing them and mending them constantly. I also play a support wizard build where your main job is to make your tank's fights easy. So if anyone comes up to them with a troublesome enchantment, you dispel that person. If they come up to them with Florentine, you heat one of their swords. If they come up with X problem, you present X solution.
Okay. Yeah, wizard has a lot of options inside of that support sphere. I don't think anybody else gets word of mending. Better double check that before I say that.
Druids.
Druids do.
Druids do. Yeah.
There's also 6 per refresh?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Level 6, once per refresh, one per point purchase.
I love word of mending. It's so good.
I've never cast it, but it's good. I've just never been in the scenario where someone is next to me dead, most of their armor gone, spadoinkle. Like, it's I've never done it. Mend usually seems to do just fine. Like 1 point is as good as 3 points is as good as 6 points.
Yes,
It
there's
depends.
it depends on who you're using it on as well. If you're working with like a fighting company and you tell them ahead of time you have it, that can be a lot more effective as well, especially if you
Mhm.
like have someone at your local park that you sort of train to come and get mends from you. That can be extra good. The word of mending, it is per refresh. It is very expensive at being 6th level, but I almost prefer it over Finger of Death because Finger of Death makes, yes, it's a point click die, but unless you've got someone really out of position, they're probably going to get rezzed at Kingdom. Whereas your Word of Mending, you're able to give someone back everything. Like if you've got a max point
Yeah.
fighter that died and like comes back up, they get rezzed because they're in an important spot. You can pull them back off that line 10 feet and give them everything back.
Mhm.
That's huge.
There was actually a point this weekend where I needed like 4 mends because my shield was destroyed, my legs were destroyed, and my torso was destroyed. All of those 2 points in armor locations for lycanthropy. So yeah, I guess I could have really used a spadoinkle at that point, but I just took like 3 mends for my teammates.
It it's an
Shield,
efficiency
torso,
thing.
leg,
Like
importance.
if it it can make a difference if you've got. I was thinking about the event here at the Rising Winds that you recently missed. In one of the games, I was playing a barbarian, and when I play martial classes, I don't take mends. I take more equipment, right? So I
Mhm.
brought 2
Yeah.
mediums, a small, 3 short swords, 2 longs, and 2 poles with me to the battlefield. And I was wearing my max points of armor everywhere. And there arrived a point where literally all of my shields were broken. Two out of my three shorts were broken. My long was broken, and my pole was on the other side of the field, and I had like 2 points of armor cumulatively remaining. And I would have given anything for a word of mending at that moment. But
Right.
instead I just died and came back and everything was fine. But from a efficiency standpoint, if you've got someone in a situation like that where you can fix everything at one go, that can be very very quickly effective, especially if they've been depoting, like stashing all of their stuff in a convenient spot so that when they come back alive they can pick their gear again. So there's trade-offs to everything. Word of Mending is a spell that I wish we would see more of. I like Greater Mend a lot as well. It
I
just
don't.
it I like Greater Mend in the way that I had Greater Mend. Back in like 2018, I had the Homestone, which gives you Greater Mend recharge times 3, regardless of class.
Sure.
And at a recharge times 3, Greater Mend is just chef's kiss
So
amazing. Times
something
10.
I learned, Asher Banipal and I examined the difference between using Greater Mend and regular Mend when it applies to having 2 points of armor, which we decided is the most common situation because of the presence of 2 point magical armor and 2 point maximum armor on some of the melee classes.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't remember what we came to as the conclusion for the comparison between the number of syllables said doing a charge 10 and then the greater mend incant versus the you say mend. We did a side by side comparison of the number of syllables needed
Mm-hmm.
in greater mend versus regular mend to both do the recharge of those and to do the cast of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't remember which we found was shorter. I think we might have actually found that Greater Mend is slightly shorter in that. However, we also observed that in this situation, we were considering taking the Golem enchantment, and
Mm-hmm.
we realized that in that situation, it would be more beneficial to have Mend because Mend is a modal spell. You can either heal the player or mend their equipment. So since then, since that discovery, I've been more about mend just because I now see it as a modal spell. This now is heal on some players. Very few players, this is heal.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's not, it's mend.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It also, if it depends on the kind of game you're playing. Do you remember June event 2024 when we had the all day long battle gaming?
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course. Oh, that was awesome.
So cool. I would love to do another event like that. That was probably the most fun I've ever had in an event. But for that
Hell yeah.
event, I took as one of my rechargeables, I took Greater Mend and experienced it. And I had a bard that was hanging out with me. And so that was when you have a ancestral armor per, you've got that per refresh at that point. I don't think it was rechargeable yet. But when you've got a
Right.
ancestral armor per refresh and you can fix it all in one go per location, that's
The
where it
more
makes a
points you
big
have, the more.
difference. Because
Yeah.
if you've got a warrior with 6 points of ancestral armor on, and they're down to, let's say they've got 2 points left at each location, right? You've got 5 hit locations, each need 4 mends. That's 20 mends versus 5 mends.
Hmm.
And so the if you've got your bard standing there, it's the same amount of charges for each one of those as one of those normal mends. So it gets more economical the more mending you have to do with less
Right.
resources.
After 2 points, the like tiny bit of efficiency that Greater Mend has over regular Mend, though it lacks the modality, is just like exponential after
Mm-hmm.
2 points.
Yes. And when I was playing Barbarian in 2018 with the Homestone, I could feel how powerful that was of being able to like oh, you broke my armor. Well, I'm just going to fix it. Like it would
Hmm.
yeah, it's so greater meant slept on in some instances, but probably not the best thing for all circumstances.
Yeah, the more points you need to fix, the better it is. And then it's like it's a great advantage it has is the rechargeability, like you said. Wizards have access to Steal Life and Innate to recharge that too if able. Spadoinkle is great for, if they're totally down. And the
Yeah.
really good thing about Wizard support is that you're able to always be moving with your tank.
Mhm.
Constantly ambulate and make the side hole again, and make the side hole again, and make the side hole again, and make the side hole, and you don't even have to finish it. Let's say they didn't get hit. You just start over, amulet and make the
Yeah.
side hole again, amulet from the bindings out, release from the bindings out, release from the bindings, and you can just be pre-canting all of these things as you're walking with your hand on your buddy. And it's
Mhm.
going to make it so if something does land, they're instantly removed from it. So it's actually better, like very fast and on the spot support than Healer can offer because Healer doesn't have the unlimited ambulant. Healer might have different spells and at better frequency, like you get a better return on your investment for things like release, and you have the ability to purchase heal and release and resurrect, but your speed is never going to be as fast as someone using ambulant and pre-canting.
So, Haj, which wizard spell do you like the best?
I'll answer this in a couple different ways because I think the best spell in the game is release, and wizards happen to have access to release, so naturally must be release, right? Ice Ball is the most powerful spell ball, in my opinion, because of the engulfing effect and the movement negation that it does. It robs your opponent of agency completely, if it even just happens to like touch their clothing.
Mhm.
They can't speak other than to say frozen, and they cannot move for a whole minute. So Ice Ball is a very powerful spell ball. However, wizards often aren't taking that. So if it comes down to a wizard exclusive spell, I would have to say Wounding is my favorite because it is a movement canceling spell when used on leg, and it also can set you up for combos because now your victim cannot flee from you. And you can set them up into poor positioning, possibly use them as bait to get some of more of their teammates that you can then victimize. Ambulant, though, the way that wizards treat Ambulant is exclusive. Their use of it is unique to them
Mhm.
in that you're able to do it unlimitedly when you play Battle Mage, which is the most popular archetype. So, generally speaking, wizards will have unlimited Ambulant, and the way that they treat that is is just so good. But as far as wizard exclusives, I love wounding, and it's charge 3. So back in my day when I played Wizard, back in my day, we didn't have charge to max, so I purchased 5 woundings. These were my 5 shotgun blasts to blow off your knees. And then once I counted down to all of them, you go to from 0 to 1. But that was still enough.
Mhm.
And geez, now I would probably only purchase 2 or 3 just to save myself the points and then charge those to that's so good. They're charge 3 wounding
Wounding,
for
don't
sure.
sleep on wounding. Wizards out there, it is so strong and it combos so well with your other rechargeable spell. Like, shove is already good by itself. If you wound dispel shove, like,
Exactly.
they're having a bad day. What
Yeah,
is
and now they're
your
waiting. They're calling out for the healer to come help them. Now
Mhm.
you break on the healer, icy blast the healer. Now the healer's like, "I'm frozen, I'm frozen." Here comes the bard to help him. Suppress aura the bard.
Just one, two, three right in a row.
It's a snowball.
When you do your wounding, what is your default limb target?
Right leg. Death strike stuff like right leg. I don't know. That's just what I have practiced, so that's my
Mhm.
muscle memory. It's great to cut through the armor if any like tank is chasing you down. I love that. And then you just turn around on them and you can finish executing. So very rarely will I go for arm. It's if I see somebody who is a throw, like if you're a ball wizard,
Mhm.
I'll go for arm because you're not trying to chase me down anyway. And it's like if you're already hidden on the back line, but then I don't think it's great to use wounding anyway. I usually use it to either subdue my target or to get somebody to stop chasing me, and then I turn around and make them my victim.
I really love using wounding on those battle lines where you've got like a bunch of people standing all next to each other and they're all like trying to plink through armor because it creates a gap in the battle line. Like if you've got 5 people standing in a row, one, two, three, four, five, and you wound the one, one in from the left. Well, now instead of having a nice flat line, you have a dip. And so if it's significantly harder for that person to then short sword their way up over the top of those shields, and it makes them more vulnerable to getting shoulder chops from both
Yes.
weapons and pole arms. And then also sometimes if you've got a good archer, that can create a gap where suddenly they can shoot through that gap to hit a caster in the midline. And so there's
Provided the person goes down. Yes, absolutely.
yeah, yeah, I mean that's strictly speaking the optimal thing for them to do. So I'm hoping that they do the optimal thing. If they start posting, that's fine. If they don't hear me, that them's the breaks. But it it can have good effect on a line as well as if you're trying to pick someone off on the side, or if they're like you said, if they're chasing you.
Yeah, I think if like how you were talking about it in the line, that's a really good way to picture it. Like the line being, mostly flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wound somebody, that part of their line then goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can get your pole arms in there. You can get your arrows through here. I
Well,
dig that.
and another thing it does is it moves their shield down, so now the guy next to them is vulnerable on that sword arm side with the shield where their shield from their buddy was previously covering them. Now there's a hole there. They could get that arm wound, and now I can't attack anymore because I've taken this wound to the arm. So it can create a cascading series of failures as well.
Yeah, this is really good like tactical knowledge on how to use wounding in a line fight, actually.
Because
So it's different than using shove in a line fight, which is also really good. Yeah, wounding also has these really good applications. I think that with this, you'd want to set up some teamwork too. Like maybe tell the archer like, "Hey, I'm going to try to get you a gap here in the middle." And then you wound the guy in the middle.
yeah,
Possibly pole arms too, but I don't want to encourage pole arms to be swinging when someone's head is lower
it
to the ground, like cuz it
yeah,
could hit them in the head.
yeah. Well, and if you've got a line like that, if you've got three spells that are very low investment, if you've got heat weapon, shove, and wounding, and if you wound a guy, shove a guy, heat a pole, that can break a line because suddenly
Absolutely.
you've got the wounded guy is down, maybe one of the two people next to him gets wounded in an arm or something. You can heat the pole across the way. So if you're looking across, if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you wound number 4, heat the pole on number 2, shove number 3, now the line is collapsed. You've got 1 and 5 who are like,
Mhm.
where'd everybody go? As you're suddenly through there. So from a theory crafting perspective, you can do a lot of damage on a line very quickly with some very low point investment spells. And
Yeah, even just throw and like in your example, you were talking like you threw one spell at three different people,
mhm,
or one each. That it has a huge impact because if we imagine this is a 5v5, then you've turned it into virtually a 2v5 because you've
that's unwinnable.
neutralized three of the people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was talking with a wizard who was doing some support casting, and my recommendation to them was pop out from behind your line or your tank, do one spell, pop back in. Pop
Mm,
out, do one spell on one person, pop back in. Maybe one spell on two people or whatever, one on each, and then you come back in. But it has huge effect because you stay alive and you're just incrementally adding advantages for your team.
I call that doing the hokey pokey
Perfect.
because you got one arm in and one arm out, and that's all I'm doing all day long.
Nice.
It can be very effective. But which wizard spell do you like the least?
Well, okay. I think word self is pretty underused, pretty bad. Planar grounding, okay. Well,
Planar grounding would be an amazing spell if it was per life.
thank you. You read my mind.
That
I agree.
I have an
It really
entire
should be,
video
in my
about
opinion.
wizard spells that are like that should be good usable utility spells, and it should be something that people are taking, and they're not because they're either misleveled or they're per refresh instead of per life. And planar grounding is not so powerful that it shouldn't be something on the wizard spell list regularly as a per life.
Yeah,
If planar grounding was per life, you could grab one planar grounding instead of a banish. And banish is sort of the like premier anti-insub tech right now. But a bunch of different classes get banish. Planar grounding, if we moved it up to like third level and made it per life, doesn't seem like it'd be terribly overpowered. Hey, you've got a gift of air wizard over there? Let me nail that guy with this. Now we can get him. He can't become insubstantial. That replacement effect doesn't trigger. Hey, you've got an
Even if
assassin over here harassing your line. Get out of here.
even if they just made it charge 5 and kept it per refresh, it's still
Yeah.
far more accessible and a better option. I don't like things that are in the game that don't provide true opportunity cost.
Hmm.
Things like planar grounding and vampirism. Like nobody wants vampirism. Nobody wants to take it and nobody wants you to take it. Like no one's asking you for vampirism.
That's because vampirism
Um,
is bad.
yeah, it's completely obsolete. So I guess my choice would probably have to be vampirism. um, but I would like to give a better, like I think Void Touched has a lot of opportunity costs. It's very
Mhm.
good, but the opportunity cost with Battle Mage is just so high.
Mhm.
Destroy Armor,
That's another
that's probably the worst
unusable
one.
spell.
That's that's actually probably the worst one. I wouldn't call it unusable because
It
and
is though.
like oh well okay. No, I'd say vampirism is unusable, right? Like
They're
a
the
planar
same
grounding
tier.
is what?
They're the same tier of unusable garbage.
I disagree. I disagree. Vampirism actually doesn't have application where destroy armor could have like teamwork application stuff. I mean, you could maybe make the same side arguments for vampirism, but
Here's the
okay,
like
at least I see what you're saying. They're both in the unplayable tier,
like if someone's
and
maining destroy armor at a kingdom level event, you're gonna kick them. You're like, what are you doing? How many points did you
I
waste
would
on
say
this?
I think it's destroy armor is slightly more applicable than vampirism. Like it seems like it's more of a real spell than vampirism. So that's why I guess I would give it that slot for what would be the worst of the actual spells cuz there are just wizards don't need to destroy armor. It would be something that you do to like set up other teammates to like maybe
Right.
get an arrow shot or a pole arm shot, but at that point you could be doing something more effective with your wizard
Right.
spells.
I think destroy armor was put in the game explicitly because they were worried that ancestral armor was going to be too strong, and wizard counters warrior really well. And I think
Dude, or maybe yeah,
so
it does.
the problem with destroy armor countering ancestral armor is that dispel is a level lower and charge times
Mhm.
3. So
Or you could just wound them. That's what
you
I
can
would
wound
do. I
them.
would wound you and I would shove you.
I'm one of the few people that can claim to have cast every single wizard spell in an actual real life battle game. And let me tell you, destroy armor felt bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe they made destroy armor because they made corrosive mist first because it's like thematic and flavorful. And then they're like, well, crap, we need to make an actual spell that does this.
I could see that. The big problem. So looking at vampirism though, because are you saying that destroy armor is worse or vampirism is worse?
Well, vampirism is absolutely worse, but I don't consider it real. It's like not
Mm-hmm.
even a real option. Whereas I would say I like destroy armor. I could see someone in real life taking that and thinking it was a good decision. Where vampirism, I can't see someone in real life taking that as as a serious decision.
And vampirism, it gives you the worst ability in the game. Adrenaline is without, I would argue, the worst ability in the game. It, if you were wearing any armor at all, adrenaline sucks
Hmm.
because by the time you've taken a
Uh,
whim wound, like, do you have armor left that this adrenaline is really going to give you that much more get up and go? Like, yeah, being immune to death is great, but you're also cursed, so you can only heal through adrenaline, and it void touch is strictly better. I know it's a level higher, but it's not playable.
I actually have a theory we should replace vampirism with flame blade. This would raise the opportunity cost of battle mage because now wizards
Oh,
have only some of the best enchantments in the game. You get contagion, which is amazing on armored players, flame blade, which is great on a lot of players,
mm-hmm.
and protection from magic and void touched. Just some of the powerhouse enchantments with I think they get per life persistent. I'm not totally sure, but they get access to persistent.
We get per
So,
refresh persistent.
okay. So the like allure to have a very powerful wizard enchanter would be there and a good opportunity cost to weigh against battle mage, which is what most people take. And warlock exists too.
It's there. Warlock is absolutely heinously broken if there are less than 8 people in a battle game.
Yeah, the less important it is that you take Dispel Magic, the more powerful Warlock is. So
Yes.
if you have another wizard and they're like, "Oh, I have it," it's like, "Oh, I'm going Warlock."
Yeah. Well, and then if you're in a game where you can just kill 3 people and win, Warlock every time. Why would you do anything
Oh, sure.
else? If you're playing like Ring the Bell or something, and you're like, oh, it's 5v5. 8 fingers of death per refresh, couple of those pyrotechnics. Mm, that at that point, Warlock can be a problem. But if you're playing on a Kingdom field, that's just not going to have an impact. It's not splashy enough. Battle Mage is clearly superior.
Oh,
I like the idea of
I
giving.
actually think that I
Oh,
think Battle Mage would do great on big level. So on small level, it feels kind of mean. Like if it's like a 4v4 at my park and then like killing 3 people with my finger, just like. But I think at big level is actually where it's really good too, because the pressure's off of you to take the Dispel Magic, and you can just heat all of the weapons without having to think of it twice because you purchase 20 per life.
yes, but also Druid is right there and gets heat weapon recharge times 3. So if you're doing it
Yeah,
just to heat
but they might have
weapons,
taken
mm,
you're more focused on it though. They might only
yes.
have one or two, or they might have summoner, and they're like, I have zero for that reason.
Yeah,
But it's
that's
like, no,
fair.
I'm a warlock. I'm heating every weapon that is not wielded by an anti-paladin. I'm just heating everything, and it just lets you not think twice about your resource management because you have so many. I also really like Warlock because it doesn't limit you from taking spell balls because you don't have
Hmm.
to combo it with Battle Mage. Battle Mage is the one that limits you from taking spell balls. And Warlock does not limit you in what school of spell ball you can take.
Right.
I learned this list from Sev. It's called Dead Stop. You use lightning bolts and entangle balls to stop the player, and then your rechargeable dragged below, which on my list I think I have 22 of because I'm a warlock.
Oh
And
gosh.
it's like, yeah, the lightning bolts hit everyone, the entangles don't, and then the entangles are your like free ones,
Yeah.
and then just the dead stop is very effective. It can handle a lot of different classes. There are some players who you might have trouble with the paladins just because you can't finish them with your death school, but you at least have the lightning bolts on them.
Well, that's why you buy a short sword and some of those heat weapons. And
Yeah,
now,
and the heat weapons and the pyro.
yeah, yeah.
Pyro is another one of my favorite wizard spells because you don't have to finish it for it to be super effective. They drop all their stuff to get you to not do it.
This is the weird thing about pyrotechnics. I wish pyrotechnics was level 4 because it would be so cool. Like still max 2. So cool to be able to recharge pyrotechnics and be out there and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a pyrotechnics wizard. I'm here to break all of your gear and then leave." But the problem I run into with pyrotechnics sometimes is the threat doesn't work if they don't know what it does. And
Sure.
pyrotechnics is uncommon enough because its opportunity cost is so high because you only get 2 per refresh max, 4 if you're playing warlock. So even if you like are trying to teach people to fear pyrotechnics and start throwing equipment everywhere, you end up having to burn through all of them, and so you're really committing to like targeting the same 4 people every battle game that entire day to try to teach them to fear that pyrotechnics before it actually becomes effective. Whereas if you do a fake out with a shove, everyone knows what shove does, and so they start moving back automatically, and you can move to the next guy.
For sure.
Pyrotechnics is really fun, and I like pyrotechnics. It also has a good like rhythm to it. Like we've
I
talked about
really
that. Yeah, good.
Oh yeah, about rhythm and spells.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing about Pyro is that it's naturally range 50. So it allows you to it's a longer incant, but it allows you to start it at that further range and it still be effective. It's also terrifying. So when someone hears this long incant that's pointed at them, um, it's good to get a reaction. You
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes get the stop and then the like drop your stuff. But when I'm using it, so one of my favorite things, one of my reasons why I like pyrotechnics so much is it helps me save on my other spells because I'm able to use it as a bluff and then I just kill the person in melee. I usually so when I played, I purchased a long sword
Okay.
back when I played wizard and I looked at the large point investment into longsword, as
Mm.
this will help me save my woundings because I can hit someone in the leg more easily with this. It also just helps me survive in melee. But what I used it with pyrotechnics is I would ambulant the pyrotechnics as I walked up, casting it, and then they would drop their stuff, and before I would finish it, I would just stab them with the longsword. So I never had to finish or use the pyro, and it still got me the kill with the long. I would mostly use pyro as a bluff. So you saying like if I could recharge it, damn dude, I could not imagine if I could bluff pyro the whole game.
Oh, it'd be
Like
insane.
that
Like it
would
would be.
be menacing.
I think it would put Warlock on the map. It if pyrotechnics was rechargeable, I think it would put Warlock in a place where it becomes a proper rival to Battle Mage.
I don't know. You Battle Mage is just so ubiquitously good, and the limitations are not that harsh. Whereas limitations on Warlock are just so harsh that Battle Mage will probably be always probably be more ubiquitous. But I think Warlock holds a candle to Battle Mage. Certainly, as long as you aren't expected to be doing the Dispel thing. Like, if your role is DPS, I actually think Warlock excels. But if you need to be a more generalist list, then Warlock can't answer some of the questions. Like, answer Dispel Magic. I can't answer Dispel Magic. That's
It's
about it.
important for a reason. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's huge,
fair.
though.
But we've come far afield from our original question, which was why is vampirism so terrible? But
Vampirism's.
it's so bad. I really want vampirism to be good because I think it'd be really interesting to have because the druids are always doing lycanthropy, and there's the
Mhm.
like werewolf versus
Yeah.
vampire thing that happens in fiction, and so I feel like it'd be fun
Yeah.
to have vampire be playable if it gave armor instead of like lycanthropy makes you immune to command, and it gives you 2 points armor, and it gives you is it shield crushing or armor breaking on it?
Yes. Crush.
Crushing. Let's make vampirism give you 2 points of magical armor, immunity to I don't know something like spirit. Like oh, you're immune to spirit. How helpful.
You are cursed
Well,
already, so
yes,
you are
you
immune
are
to spirit.
cursed, but like if you want to make symmetry, change the wording so that they're instead of saying you are cursed, you see, you know what I mean? It's
Or
less
make them
efficient.
cursed and immune to death, so that you kind of have like a mirror. Like werewolves are immune to command, vampires are immune to death.
They do get death immunity, but replace that unlimited adrenaline with something useful unlimited. Like
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like steal life. I mean, but then it kind of steps on the toes of void touched.
I just came up with the worst possible thing, but I would love it. I would ask for vampirism every single day. Unlimited ravage.
Actually, that's kind of cool.
That would be an insane like I liked ravage enough that I learned old ravage when ravage was like 800 million syllables long and it still was bad. But if it gave you unlimited ravage, just you
That's
walk
actually
up
kind
to
of
the line
cool,
and you're like, I'm a vampire. Get ravaged.
dude. And then if they are able to keep the adrenaline, it helps you do adrenaline, even if adrenaline sucks.
It would, yeah. All right, we need to get in touch with our rules reps and tell them to add unlimited ravage to vampire.
Dude,
That's what it really needs.
and fragile on suppression bolt. I don't remember which video of yours that was on, but that was a great suggestion, and I've been telling people that around the game.
It's actually getting some momentum. I've heard that
Yes.
a couple of rules reps are like into putting fragile on suppression bolt or cursed on suppression bolt.
Yeah, I like fragile. I think that's really
I
good.
think either one would be really fun. Like if you had a because if you curse on a suppression bolt, then it becomes akin to a barbarian's brutal strike, which I just think is really funny.
Yeah, it's a brutal
Um,
strike ball.
the brutal strike ball, like, hey, let's go. We need more BS in our life, right? Focusing us back in. When you're playing wizard, are you buying the short swords? Are you buying the long swords? What are you taking equipment wise for that?
Battle Mage removed from Amtgard's idea of it. So for me, that is someone who uses magic to augment their melee fighting skills. So I used a long sword and a short sword because I felt that it best represented that. And then to get the free hand, I did what Twilis also does in the Rising Winds, where you use a wrist strap on the sword, and then you drop it, and then you quickly grab it back up after your incant is done. The longsword gave me a lot of survivability when it came to blocking. It ate a lot of arrows, and then you have the ambulant mend to just keep your equipment mended back up.
Hmm.
I also rocked armor to help with my battle mage idea, usually lycanthropy, because it's great to not be suppressed. I forgot what I was about to say, but about the swords. That actually reminded me of what I had lost. It was going to talk about how using longsword to block polearms.
Oh, yes. That can be really,
Okay.
really helpful.
When I was using my longsword, I use it in the downsword position, which may
Okay.
or may not be the most effective way to use it. But in doing that, I was able to place it physically between me and a polearm, so the polearm would then be on the outside lane of me, and then
Mhm.
I was able to step more inward, creating a greater wall or a disparity gap between me and that polearm as I closed in with my short sword.
Mm.
So I found that having a long sword in the downsword position gave me a lot of confidence in fighting a polearm. In fact, like that was one of my most confident fights because they have one weapon which I can fully neutralize, and I have two weapons. I didn't
Yeah.
even have to use magic when in those fights using a long sword, short sword setup.
When I have to run a pole arm, if I've got two swords, I'll take the sword and I'll put it physically touching my leg because they always go for
Hmm.
that leg chop, and then I don't have to worry about like physically stopping their blow. It just is gonna bounce off my short sword, and that works 80% of the time. Haj, how are you building your spell balls?
Spell balls. I have a couple different builds, just some like old tech and newer
Mhm.
tech. I originally started using just loose rubber bands. I like the weight that provides when it flies. Consistency is a little bit lacking, but I don't mind it. And then also just spare fabric. It's cheap, it's available. Always, on that bargain hunt, thrifting my spell balls. So yeah, my current ones are just when I had to do my wizard kit,
Mhm.
I had to make like, enough for a full e-barrage kit. So I just used scrap fabric for those. And then the balls I had from previous casting experience were my loose rubber band ice balls.
What weird rules interactions can
I love this. I'll put you on some secret sauce, some Battle Masters sauce. So you can ambulant banish yourself while you are teleporting.
Mhm.
Now with this, you can do a lot. But even further than that, the more secretive sauce is if someone banishes you, you can now ambulant banish yourself to rip the reins of the banish into your hands and then return to the physical world. And they
never
will look
thought
at
of
you
this.
like, how are you so powerful? What have you done? And you just walk in that power. It would be something like if you banish me, I would great amulet, the spirit's banished you from this place, the spirit's banished you from this place, the spirit's banished you from this place, I return to the physical world, I return to the physical world.
That's
I did that to some,
that's
I did that at Legends,
genius.
and someone was just like mouth agape, like, I can't believe you've done that. You
This
took my
is
banish away from me.
I can't wait to do this.
Yeah, so I teleported at their back line just to be a distraction, and I
Mhm.
was already I think I already might have been ambulant. No, I was teleporting in and they banished me, but I was going to ambulant banish myself anyway, so I already had one in the chamber. And then they did that, and I'm like, wait, I'll take control of it because I know where I want to end my insub,
Yeah,
and it's not where you tell me to.
you can just oh, that's great. That's so great.
Yeah, on surface level, like you can. So a lot of people don't understand that you can ambulant banish yourself while you are while you are in sub, while you are teleporting, possibly by your own means. Ambulant banish,
Hmm.
right? That's a surface, or that's a like sort of weird rules interaction already. But then the even further level is you can banish yourself while you're banished.
That I like this. This is a level. This is the devious person teleporting at the scout to ambulant cast their spell ball, hoping the scout tracks them. Level shenaniganry that I'm into.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually, when you were talking about that on a previous episode, I remember I had tried that years ago,
Hmm.
and the reason it doesn't work unless you get tracked out
Hmm.
is because you have to incant
Yes.
the return incant, and when you do so, it will deactivate your spell ball.
Yep.
So if you do it in the way that you described, it would be the most hilarious, like, gotcha moment. And it
I
would be like
yeah.
something that they had done to themselves because you wouldn't have been able to do that had they not tracked you out.
My soft plan is to wait until you're reaving and then be like, Hodge, come with me. Swift, I travel to the
Yeah.
amulet. Spellball time. Hey, buddy, don't worry about me. I'm just teleport. Oh, what's that? Tracking? Spellball. Hodge, tell him. Got him.
Yeah, it's a good idea if you're ever gonna do something like really weird, like, hey Reeve, watch this.
Watch me try this. I feel like Amtgard has a lot of hold my beer moments, and that's one of them right there.
Yes, I love those.
Okay. Do you have any other weird rules interactions for our wizards out there, or should we move on?
Hmm. I think that's the most secret wizard sauce I have.
Okay. Well, let's look at this. What can other classes do to support wizards?
Kill us lycanthropy. It's really good. Lycanthropy is probably wizard favorite spell because no suppress for me, and I get a little bit of arrows. I was joking after the last event I was at that lycanthropy is amazing because it gives you protection from fireball and proprage,
Mm-hmm.
as well as like just protection from melee. Like because somebody was using fireballs,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like eating it with my lycanthropy points and then mend a single point,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like wow, I have pro fireball. Or like
You
I'd
have
take an
dished
arrow.
out
It's
pro
like, oh
flame.
yeah, I'm pro proj. Well, it take 1 point. It's back. Oh, I'm sorry, I already forgot the question, Cal. I don't think that even answered the question.
How can
Oh, how
other?
to support the better.
Yes.
You want to target the people who are targeting us, which are generally going to be like other casters, really. I always love when I'm about to get cast down upon, and then the support arrow comes from over my shoulder and just perfectly gets that caster who's targeting me.
Mm,
I suppose, like, more on a whole, then, what it would be is keep in mind that your wizards are squishy and we want your help. We want you to give us armor and we want you to give us your protection.
don't run away from me. If we're working
Yeah.
together, don't run off in a different direction and leave me all by my lonesome. I was at I don't remember what I think this was just a park day. I was playing wizard at a park day, and there was a like I had a melee fighter with me, and this was at River's Edge. So River's Edge is a park where I can take my kids because there's a lot of kids that play at the park, and my
Sweet.
kids are the best. Don't tell the other kids. But when we're at the park, and it's a real chill, real fun park. But we're walking up to an engagement, and the kid in front of me has got a shield, and there's two fighters coming up, and the kid starts backing up faster than I can. And I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on a second. This is not how this works. I will fall back and you come with me, but you stay here with your lovely shield there, and I will keep you safe. You just keep them from rushing me.
Right.
That's a big thing for me is don't ditch the wizard by running away. Stick
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. Or
I
it's like you might be encouraging your wizard to go into a situation that's too dangerous for them. And if they're a fool, they'll follow you to your death.
Mhm.
And I guess if they're wise, they'll call out to you and tell you that you're going to your death as they watch you do so.
Right. Well, and I went to the General Grievous School of Combat, so I'm really good at running away from things. You rabbit early and often.
Also, I agree. I'm also in that school of thought because it helps you a lot with like awareness of the field and
Mhm.
awareness of your surroundings. It helps you recognize when situations are about to go bad before they do, and it helps me in melee as well. Like when I'm playing Belgarth, I see that we're about to lose this fight because they just had 4 people walk up. We need to take like 5 steps back,
Mhm.
something like that, so that we're with a bigger group now because we're overextended and things like that. And I see it in Amtgard a lot too. Like, oh, they just had these two casters walk up, and that's when I'm building a plan. Like, okay, is my plan now to countercast these people because I saw them coming, or do I realize that this is about to not go well for me, and I need to turn around and look for some teammates?
Mhm.
Back to when you asked what can do to support Wizard. I actually just realized this weekend how to articulate something that I've noticed for a while, and this is how you can help all casters in any scenario. And this is a general rule. So if I ask you for something as a caster, I want you to start saying that spell now, and I walk to you. That way you will be able to do it faster.
Mhm.
The opposite of that would be I would say stationary, you would come to me and then begin casting the spell. And if you ask me for a spell, my response to you will be to start uttering that spell. And then my expectation of you is that you will come to me by the time I finish that spell. This is a great way to help your casters to get their spells off faster. And it's a great thing that you can do to get your spells off faster to your opponents or to your teammates as well.
When I die, which seems to be just inevitable, like this always is happening, like, and,
Eventually, yeah.
and then I'm just like, oh, I'm dead, and then they summon my corpse and they start the resin cant as I'm
Oh,
running up. It's like, oh yes, you sweet child, crisp high
yep.
five, and we're back. Let's go. Because like, there's so much you can just do with that, and it's like, okay, just that tap and go. What really annoys
Mhm.
me though is every once in a while there'll be a healer and they're like summoning my corpse and I'm just sort of like I'm on the way and I'm timing my jog to get there when their incant is done.
Mhm.
And then they're like and I'm like, "Oh, okay, you want to go fast." And so I'm running up to them as they're speeding up their incant and it's like, "Okay, you set the pace here. You let me know when to get there. I'm going to move at the pace that you're setting and now your signal go faster. All right, I'm hurrying. Let's go." So that's always fun. Or if you're getting like forced movement and they start the release and you're like, oh yes, let me just get that long stretch to be in that touch range. That's also fantastic. I love it when people are doing that stuff.
I guess the time where the rule I expressed doesn't follow as much is ironically in Wizard, where we are here,
Mm-hmm.
because Wizards are able to ambulant the spell. So if you ask me for a support spell, like, hey, Haj, can I get a release? My response then would be amulet from the bindings that were released, and I would begin walking at you.
Certainly, but I mean
But
that.
in other cases, I think it's really beneficial if people in our culture would behave that way, just because um, it would just make casting a little bit more efficient in the flow.
Well,
It's
and
just not something that people often think about, I think.
I do think that we're in the smaller percentile that's really sitting down and trying to optimize how efficiently we can cast our spells.
Exactly. Yep.
There's this very small people group, Hosh, that we're a part of here.
Well, right. And as you begin to improve like the 1%, the 1%, the 1%,
Mm-hmm.
you are looking now for okay, what other percentages can I even gain in what I'm doing? And that's when you start noticing these really small things, but the small things do add up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's something that I've talked about. I'm actually planning on putting out a video at some point later this year, or it might be out before this. I don't know when scheduling is happening, but talking about micro advantages. Are you?
Yeah,
I think I sent you
love
the
that.
article about this with like the British
I think so.
cycling team. Yeah, that concept of
Mhm.
making everything 1% better is straight out of their playbook, and trying to get a big result out of small little changes.
Wow, I love that. That's actually how I approach Magic the Gathering when building decks too. So
Mm-hmm.
like you look at each card as, a percentage value and then each percentage you improve just improves your deck overall. And after I've added, 100 of the 20 like 0.25%, that gives me, well, math, like, 25% of a better deck or whatever.
Yeah, it can add up really quickly too. And if you can get just a little bit better every time you're doing something, and we've talked a lot about this. Well, let's talk for a minute about how we practice our incantations and we're practicing saying our spells. And
Hmm.
we've talked about this on the phone a bunch of times now, but like the concept of not trying to be fast in practice, but trying to be precise. And
Accurate.
out
Yes.
of battle, I pause to rest, getting used to that mouth feel, getting used to that rhythm, and then altering that rhythm to match whatever amount of breath you have and whatever you're trying to get done
Hmm.
as you're going.
Emphasizing the difficult words. My power makes thee frozen.
Yes.
I
Hajj,
command thee
death
to
shall
stop.
ravage thy flesh and make thee fragile. And I'm still mad that they changed Ravage. Ravage used to be beautiful. It used to be this terrible, awful, no good spell that they gave you two per life. It was so terrible. And if you did it, like, just imagine the flex of this.
That was the appeal. Was if you did it. If you did this horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you made it work. You turned the odds in your favor.
It became this, like, this badge of honor. Like, yeah, I could Icy Blast you, but I didn't. I got you with Ravage and Wounding. Like, ooh, go.
When people ask me a lot, like, how get good, how be good Amtgard, there's a lot of like different conversations and discussions that we have about, what you want to actually achieve. But what it really comes down to is practice. At the end of the day,
Mhm.
at the end of these long conversations that I have with people, it comes down to you need to be practicing, but not only practicing, you need to be aware of what you're practicing so that you practice it correctly.
Yes,
So that when you are practicing, you are saying, I command thee to stop. So that when you're on the field, you will, in fewer circumstances, say, command stop. I command stop, command stop, command stop. Versus, I command thee to stop, I command thee to stop, I command thee to stop.
yes,
My power shoves thee. Versus, my partially. My partially, my partially, my partial. My power shoves thee, my power shoves thee, my power shoves thee. So it just shows that the way that you practice is the way that you play.
100%. And I think the thing that I liked so much about that Ravage, and I still like Ravage now, but I think that the big thing about the old Ravage was it showed a level of commitment to something. Like,
Mhm.
I've practiced everything so much that I can use the worst spell and still be effective. Not just because I'm so great at this, but because I put so much time into everything else. I had time to prestige the bad part. Like if you're playing, what, I don't know what all the kids are playing these days with their video games, but if you're playing, the Mario Kart and there's the worst character and you're like, yeah, I played all the good characters and I won all the races and I did all this stuff. And then I got bored, so I played Luigi, who's, the worst guy and he drifts funny. And so, I've mastered that too. It it signals a level of commitment that I don't think as many people have to classes anymore. Like people will like a class, but do you love a class enough to be good at the bad part of the class? Have
Do you
you?
love it enough to take ward self and destroy armor?
No.
Dude, I wonder how the super bad wizard list would look. That'd be actually really funny if one of us did that.
Haj, are you coming to Battlecry?
Or, oh well, I hope so, God
I'm
willing.
I'm planning to be at Battlecry on Sunday. We should make the worst wizard list possible,
That'd be really funny, dude.
and then
We'd just do
that.
awful.
How many destroy armors will you commit to putting on your list?
Like, do you have an icy blast?
No.
No, but I have imbued armor. I don't.
Wizard doesn't get
Uh,
imbue armor. Haj,
no, I
your
ward. I
multiple
know. I
paragons are
confused with
showing.
ward self. My bad. I couldn't think of ward self because I've never purchased that.
It's
Trying to think of the other bad things. Imbued armor.
Yes, I did not buy Icy Blast, but I do have a vampirism. Can I interest you in a vampirism? Do you want to do that? Oh, yeah. The funny thing is, vampirism has no max. So you could theoretically buy 16
Hmm.
vampirisms and then just be like, hey guys,
I actually,
do you want to buy
um,
some vampirism?
one of my lists in my little spell book is for wizard. It's called Vampire Feeding Frenzy, and I don't think I ever played it because who wants vampirism? All the list does is it gives out vampirism, and then it makes the opponents fragile, just to feed their adrenaline. But it's not good. It's never been played. Just it's in the book.
Just because it's not good doesn't mean it shouldn't be fun.
It probably could be fun.
Let me look at this. If you took, because Ravage is level 3, so if you rolled all of your points from 6th level down to 4th level into vampirism, you could have 16 vampirisms. And then you could
Tracks.
have 10 ravages per life.
Nice.
This is so dumb, but it could be. I feel like you have to roll everything else into heat weapon. That's the build.
Yeah.
16 vampirisms,
Easy.
10 ravages, 15 heat weapons. That's the worst. I mean, you maybe take a destroy armor just so you have a 4th spell, but that's the
Feast.
challenge build of the day. To focus back in, Wizard, we've already talked about Wizard being a bit of a glass cannon. What is Wizard particularly weak to, and how are you overcoming that weakness?
Particularly weak to arrows because you have a greater deadly range. Goes back to your magic missiles and melee video, which I thought was great. The missiles have a greater range and more greater deadly range than you do. So a great way to counteract that is to get lycanthropy specifically because lycanthropy amazingly makes you immune to projectiles, but your armor's not immune to it, so you have to fix the armor.
Right.
And then you're also pro command. So that's the other thing that the caster is weak to is the bard who has more break concentrations than you. But again, you shore up that weakness with the lycanthropy. Now you're only like what? Now who can remove the lycanthropy and shoot you with a bow? That'd be a scout.
Right.
So scout's probably your worst enemy.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
A scout that actually knows and uses dispel, terrifying.
yeah, they also you can't like in sub trickery around them, so that'd be annoying. Unfortunately, Scots aren't able to ambulate or extend their dispel magic, so the only way it's landing on you is if they get you by surprise. And then if you are aware of them, you should be able to outverbal them.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like they're the biggest problem. Yeah, probably a scout with the dispel and the bow. It's the arrows, really. Those dang arrows.
Yeah, well, you could end up in a situation where they could soft lock you long enough to you'd almost need a pair of scouts to do it, but if you had 2 watts, like my favorite enchantment to get is Gift of Air because I'm just ornery like that. But if you're in that Gift of Air and they hit you with that first arrow that knocks you into insub, and then one scout starts dispelling you, and you're like, ah, well, I'll just pop out of this real quick and run away, and then they hit you with the other arrow to try to keep you there long enough to get that dispel, and then if you're like, oh, well, I'll just run back to base now because the Gift of Air will let you run back to
Mhm.
base, and then they track you out while the other one's finishing up their dispel, and they hit you with that third arrow because you have to stop to do the whole thing. It's like,
I guess they have hold person too, so if you don't have pro command,
yeah,
they
they
would
can get
they
you with
could
that.
start one of them could do a hold person in that spot.
That can also stop you, literally. But okay, well,
Nice.
talking about dispel, I feel like dispel is super duper important on every wizard list that it can be on. How do you feel about dispel?
So I remember when we did a video for some Polaris wizards, and we discussed whose job is it to dispel. Um, Times have changed a little bit, but only really in the regard that healer now gets access to dispel at level 4. So I would say the conclusion is the same as the one we came to then, is that it is your job unless otherwise noted.
Mm-hmm.
So unless the druid comes to you and says, I'm a summoner, I purchased 2x of the naturalized magic, so I will have 20 dispels on the field. Something like that, you might say, oh, I don't really need to take it then. You might even want to lean into an archetype that doesn't allow you to take it, such as Warlock. However, absent that, the investment you put into it versus the reward you can get out of this, the 1 point invested in for a charge 3 per refresh spell, the investment's so low and the payout is so big
Mm-hmm.
that in many times it's just an auto include. And it's other classes need to specialize into dispel in order to dispel as efficiently as a wizard. So, for example, healer now actually probably gets the most frequent dispels if their build is built around dispel. So, if you experience dispel magic at level 4 for
Mm-hmm.
healer, it's now charge 10. You purchase 2 steel lifes at level 5. Those are per life to allow you to recharge it. And then you purchase 2 innates at level 2. These are per life for healers. This will allow you to recharge it. That gives you 1 per refresh dispel magic and 4 instant charges per life. So you kind of have 4 dispel magic per life plus 1 per game as a healer.
Yeah.
But in that, you have to build your entire list around doing that. Whereas with a wizard, I spend 1 point and it's charge 3. Incredibly efficient.
Well, and I really feel like the healer getting dispel was a park problem. Like
Agree.
on a kingdom field, there's wizards around. Every wizard's buying dispel, or they're doing something like
Yes.
they're buying dispel. You're going to have someone with dispel or nat mag on a kingdom field. The only place it really became a problem was where you have Avatar of Nature druid at your local park, and there is no wizard. And so in that
Agree.
case, you needed to have another class that had dispel. And healer, I think, is one of our more popular classes, and so it
Hmm.
makes sense to bump that down from fifth to fourth, I think.
More problems caused by Avatar of Nature at Park.
Did I ever tell you about my plan to fix Avatar of Nature Druid?
Tell me again.
I want them to become different bard. So basically, as you know, with bard songs, they with bard songs you have to do the chanting and then you get the effect, right? I would like druids to have to chant form of whatever, and I would create 6 new spells, one per level, and they would be different things. And I would have like you could have bear form and bear
Form,
form,
form of the bear,
yeah,
form of the wolf.
like
Yeah.
and then
Form
and
of
it
the
would be a
golem.
simple quick incant too. It'd be like I take the form of a bear, and then they get 2 points
Yeah.
of ancestral armor, and they get shield crushing. If they get
Oh
lycanthropy,
God.
but it's a bear form, it is once per refresh. And then all Avatar of Nature Druid does is it makes it so that all of your animal forms, instead of being per refresh, are per refresh recharge times 1. And then so you can go into an animal form, and then if you want to use that animal form again later, like you can come out of animal form at any time. When you come out of the animal form to go back into it, you have to stop and recharge that. And so you could give them a bunch of different animal forms that have
Mhm.
different effects, much like the bard songs. I would lean into the existing enchantments that they're already sort of going for.
Yeah.
Like if they took, like, I would say like third level could be form of wolf, and their weapons become natural, and so they're getting pro flame, and they have 1 point of armor or something. So you could your animal form switching then becomes an answer, but also you can't cast other things while you're in the animal form because it's a
Right. It'd
chant.
essentially be a chant. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd literally be a chant. And so it would fix the biggest problem with Avatar of Nature Druid, which is I'm getting armor, I'm getting melee effects, and I can still cast on top of that. And it would make us more in line with the idea that people would have of Druid coming in, of like, ooh, animal forms, and then I can cast spells. And so and you can, and we could really ham it up and have fun with it and be like, hey, we're, like, if you're gonna have your fifth level is gonna be bear form, fourth level is gonna be hawk form, third level would be wolf form, second level would be, I don't know, what's something that's mildly intimidating but less than a wolf.
Rock.
What?
A rock.
A rock? That's stone form. They already have stone form. Oh my gosh, we could make stone form an actual form.
I take the form of the earth, and you
I
turn into grass.
I would like them to take tree form.
So first, I think when we're looking at fixing problems, we need to look at like what the heart of the problem is, and then looking at some of these different solutions. I think that some of the solutions you offered help with problems that are more game wide. It felt like they were less specific to druid issues to me and more addressing things like enchantments. Like I think that enchantments should basically have to be chanted all the time. That's like a big issue, like that's like a really
Yeah.
big problem.
Well, I also have a couple other little things that I would tie into that as well. I wouldn't let you have more than one archetype. You could even
Okay.
make the animal forms once per life almost, but once per life feels.
I feel like unlimited doesn't sound too strong. It kind of, but the
Well, the
thing that
big
does sound
problem
really
with
strong
that,
is if they have armor on them. If they have armor
yes,
on them, then
yes,
that's kind of wild.
yeah,
Like if they were just like I take the form of a bear and now I have like bear, like I have crushing.
hmm
Like I don't unlimited. Sure, make that a song. That's cool.
that could be
Because then
absolutely
it's just
unlimited.
song of battle,
That
but
Yeah,
it's the
exactly.
opposite. But you get crushing.
But I'd want
Yeah.
it to be different enough. Like getting magic armor as a druid, I think is a big part of being a druid, and if you have a good druid player, they're always going to have magic armor. Like it's not something that they're running out of anyway. Mend is so cheap for them to just get a bunch of. And so I don't think it would be that broken. I also would take Mend off the druid list or make it so it's only others, which would get real spicy, but you at that point enchantments only go on other people. They're not going on yourself. And so that solves a lot of the complexity problems around Druid being able to stack a bunch of enchantments. And then the animal forms thematically still fit the things that they're trying to do, and I think you could be really interesting with.
Yeah, I like the animal forms idea, and then hopefully still keeping a way to let druids maintain armor.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think that that should be taken away, but I think that the introduction of the like animal form thing sounds cool.
I think it'd be super cool. The one that I have that is the most, I either want it to be level 1 or level 6, and I'm not sure where it would land, but form of cat, you become invulnerable, but you have to go back to your base and you can't stop until you're back at your base. So
Oh, cool.
it'd be, you're basically vanishing or losting yourself, but you're invulnerable to everything. You're going back to base.
Yeah. It's a monster ability called Pass Without Trace. You say, I pass without
Yeah.
trace, and then you become insub and you go back home.
But I just feel like that'd be kind of fun. Like, I take the form of a cat, meow, and you run back to base. Meow is part of the incantation.
Oh, perfect. Yeah,
I
that's how they know the incident ended.
Yes, you have to make the animal sound when you're done with the incant, and instead of chanting the thing, you have to make the animal sound. I take the form of bear. Roar! Roar! I
I take the form of a werewolf,
I take the
stalked in the
form of wolf.
forest.
Woof 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 woof
Start singing like
woof.
Duran Duran for werewolf. Dude, we said a sorrowful farewell to the fun incants with the removal of grasping tentacles.
I
The incant wasn't even dirty. The hands of the earth rise to your bidding. It was just the name of the spell, I think. And oh, and then Essence Graft, open up and receive my power.
Oh,
Can't
that
let
one
us have
was
any
bad.
fun, dude.
That one
That,
was
that
bad.
they're fun.
I would add
Okay.
a reverse shove. It's a come hither. Just come here.
Oh, dude. So a warlord from Westmarch was actually talking to me about that very idea. He wanted it to be sorcery, and he even came to me with an incant. My power pulls thee closer. He asked me what I thought about it, and at first I gave him just like a short, like gut check of, nah, I don't really like it. But I realized
It
that
would be
spell,
so good.
it actually already exists.
Does
We
it?
just don't think we think of it in a different way. We're thinking of it as you come to me. The spell exists, but I come to you,
Well,
and it's
this,
hold person.
yes, but hear me out. Imagine the what did he call it?
I just said it, and he said my power pulls thee closer
That's a
was the
great
incant.
incant too. But imagine
Yeah,
like, hey, guy over there, you don't want to come and square up with these two warlords that I brought with me? Well, my power brings the closer, my power brings the closer, my power brings the closer. Get them,
yeah,
boys. You can become the
it's
mob
very
boss.
suited. Yeah, it's suited for the person who came up with that idea to me because he himself is a warlord. So I can see it in the lens of like I want this caster to come over and have to fight me. The thing is, if we think of picture yourself on a globe, but you are a marble.
Hmm.
So as the globe is turning,
Okay.
you also are turning as this marble.
Yes.
So you can see in this that it's not so much you moving forward, it's the world moving underneath you. So we can think of whole person in the same way. If we're all just marbles, I hold person you. Now, me as a marble and maybe like my two teammates, we just need to move forward rather than this person moving backwards. We just move forward towards them. And then you
Yes.
can use shove to like displace their teammates. But when he first came to me with the idea, I'm like, no, I don't really like it. But I didn't realize that it already exists. We just think of it in an opposite way. Instead of you come to me, it's I go to you. And it's possible that you need to remove some of their other teammates in that situation
Mhm.
too. But you could just think of that as I cast shove on them because okay, so if I'm coming up to you and you have two buddies next to you versus you coming to me, I would have to shove your teammates versus if I were to pull you to me, I would hold person your teammates. So it's really you just flip them. You use
Yeah.
hold person and then you move.
I feel like there's a build somewhere in here where you're a waterbender and you like shove, pull, and you're just breaking this line up. That would be
Whoa.
a really cool thing to be, because then you can do it both ways. And now it's
Yeah.
not. I sent you 20 feet that way. It's you're 20 feet that way, you're 20 feet this way. There's no 40-foot gap in the middle here. And that would be a really interesting creative space to get into. Like, if you've got a barbarian and a warrior standing next to each other, I shove the warrior, I pull the barbarian, my team beats the snot out
Mhm.
of this poor barbarian, they're dead. Now the warrior is trying to run up and help their friend. Well, now we've got you, and I feel like that'd just be a really interesting thing to put in there. We could almost get
It
rid
does seem
of
interesting.
like, doesn't that feel like it could be a really fun? It'd have to
The
have some play
scenario
testing.
that the scenario you just put forward, I can see that being done with just shove, and then you just have to move your body a little bit from where you're shoving them so that you are then at like a different point to like where you're facing them and shoving them a little bit.
It is doable in the current game. I'm not claiming that it's
Right.
not doable. It is less convenient and I would argue less
Yeah.
fun to do in the current meta. Like, the amount of situation that has to happen for you to be able to pull that off is significantly
Mhm.
reduced by the new spell. Now, I can tell you right off the bat, marshals would hate this spell. Like,
Force pull. Maybe that's what he called it, force pull.
capital H hate this. Like, it. Like, you think they don't like shove, they're really gonna hate force pull.
I agree, dude. If you're like line fighting with some people and you like force pull like one guy and then just like hold person him and suppress him, dang.
Like, you would have to be very particular. I feel like a caster could have one or the other. Bard. If you replaced Bard's shove with a force pull, that could be really interesting. Like, my music will draw you in, or whatever type of bard you are.
Power of my music pulls you in. New bard spell.
I like this idea. This is the new bard tech that they've been needing. They needed a sorcery
We
way. Like, imagine
we
you,
may dude, yes, imagine like they do it to a paladin. That frontline paladin that they just can't fight or
yeah,
that they can't beat. You just now you're in bad positioning. Now you're overextended. I pulled you into my line. Then
when
again, that might be where the armored paladin wants to be. You never know. Honestly, this could be an interesting spell. We may see this in future versions.
I could see a potential safety concern with it, just because if you have a person being pulled, like if you push someone, they can, like, if you've got two lines line fighting and you shove someone back, they go away from the line. If you pull someone forward, then they have to go through the line. So that's probably why we don't have something like this now.
Maybe. I mean, I would expect all people to like conduct themselves in a reasonable manner to like not be causing physical injury to other players, like body to body contact.
What
Like
if
I don't care if you're teleporting.
instead of a shove, it was sort of like a summon dead, but you summon the live player? Like, instead of having to travel in a straight line 20 feet, they have to move as expediently as possible to your location. Like, this is just
To
greater
me, that's
insult
still
at
the
that
same.
point.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see somebody like taking the very long route and like going all the way around my team sort of thing. Because the point of it is, no, I'm trying to pull you into my team so they can kill you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it some more.
If we if we do see this, credits to Rourke of Westmarch for this good idea.
Rourke of Westmarch, if you're out there, we like your idea. Come on the show and tell us more about it. Once again, which seems to be a big theme of ours, is refocusing. Wizard, on Kingdom Fields versus Park Fields, how are you playing differently on Kingdom and Park Fields?
So at park level, I am generally just trying to make sure that people are able to play Amtgard. At my park particularly, it can sometimes be a challenge to allow people to play because we have like a small park, but many battle masters per capita.
Mm,
Something sometimes like if we have a 4v4, like each side gets two battle masters, something like that.
that is an
So
insane capita.
yeah, yeah, and we're making more battle masters from our park all the time because we have battle masters, so others rise to the challenge.
Mm.
Um, but so like last just this Sunday at my park, there was me and someone who's about to become a battle master officially. I mean, he's a battle master in my eyes. We two were on one team, and then someone else who is nearly a Paragon healer, and then a Battle Master. So, you know, this was a split, and then like the team that had the Paragon or nearly Paragon healer, they had like one extra body, so two newer players, and then on the team I was on, we had like, or the other one had whatever, they had an extra person. But my job in that was to completely neutralize their battle master. That was my only role.
Mhm.
And then their healer if he came to support their battle master. So I'm just letting everyone else on my team play. And then the battle master though on their team, you don't get to play. And I mean that's fine with them. We're friends. They know they need to be shut down because if they're not, and the times where I would slip up, he eats my team alive, runs rampant on them. So at a kingdom level field, though, I behave much differently. I'm there to play, others are there to play, and we're here to play and compete at a high level. So, and I mentioned this earlier and in the past in other videos about my style when playing Wizard. I think of myself as a bounty hunter. I pick a target, usually just by someone I see, but maybe it's someone I had in mind ahead of time as well. But it's usually just the first other battle master I see, or the first person who's like, a paragon or close to paragon. I'm just gonna go and mess their day up. Anyone in between me and them, you get neutralized. It's usually like a wounding shove, and then you're not my problem.
Mhm.
But then that person, whoever I'm going up to, you're you're getting everything I've got until you are dead. Like it usually ends in a kill. And then once I've neutralized that target, I just go on to another target and I just continue moving in that fashion until I die, go get my per lives and repeat, keep your chargeables up. I really like to just find my target and then I like to I like to see who they have to help them and then that's like sort of a challenge to me like how do I neutralize their support and then still come up on top in this engagement. It
Okay.
takes a lot of planning, though.
What do you think the minimum equipment you need to be a successful wizard is?
Well, I mean, just a sash would do. That requires more knowledge. So really, like your efficacy is going to go up in each level that you level up. So you have sash, basic, dagger. You're a little bit less of a free kill. Short sword. You're even less of a free kill
Mhm.
now, and you have a little bit more offensive capability. Longsword, you have much more blocking capability, more deadly range. Now, if you have long and short, you have tons of blocking capability, passive and active, and you have decent kill potential. However, at this point, you're now hindering your spell casting capabilities. So you are trading off once you occupy that second hand.
Haj, when you start building your spell lists, are you starting at the top and working down? Or are you starting the bottom working up? How do you build those spell lists?
For all classes, I've always gone six down. It helps me do the math for my points a little bit better, make sure that I'm rolling everything accurately. Yep, I start at six, and then how many points did I spend here? Let's say I spent 4 points on Finger of Death, and I purchased no other purchases at level six. So we are, in my mind, I go roll down 2 points from six to five. We have 7 points to spend here. Purchase two Steel Life, one Ambulant, I now spent 3 points of my seven, rolling down 4 points to level three, and so on and so on.
Okay. When you are playing the different archetypes, do you have like a default archetype list, or are you building new lists every time?
I have a selection of lists that are geared towards my playstyle, and I'll generally look at those and see which one is the most appropriate for the game. And then sometimes I'll make small alterations to it. Although, with the lists that I have geared towards my playstyle, I generally don't make alterations. I find them general enough to work in most situations that I find myself in and have enough abundance or rechargeables that I'm not finding myself unable to be impactful. This is things like maximizing your per lives and your rechargeables, but not taking too many of those. For example, I don't think I've ever, or I don't usually purchase more than one Dispel Magic because in my mind, I can very quickly do a charge three to have
Mhm.
access to another one instantly. I found a lot when I'm building lists. I will consider, the objective of the game, such as is this something where we are in very close quarters, such as maybe like a woods trail game? In these scenarios, you're going to want to maximize on things that are going to be very efficient in this situation. Examples of this are going to be throw and shove, wounding as well, because it's if you wound somebody and then throw them, it's going to take them longer to get back to the front line. Um, so yeah, sometimes I make small changes like that when building a list, but it generally comes from a general skeleton of a list that I just sort of add meat onto. Not always, though. Sometimes I'll find that a very narrowly focused list is
Mhm.
appropriate for the game, in which cases I find it pretty easy to write that list quickly because you've already recognized, like, oh, in this game, I primarily need shove. And that's a level 1 point.
Mhm.
So I can think of, and for things where it's level 1, in that case, it's easier to just do like subtraction math because you don't really have points to roll in other places. I have a total of 31 points. Okay, short sword costs 2, 29 shoves, and a short sword. You know, that one was easy. It's really easy to build lists like that when it's quite obvious what the very necessary part of the list will be.
I always
And when it comes
recommend
to
doing,
more generalized things, I always just write it down.
if you're going to do the oops all shoves build, I recommend taking only 27 shoves so you have one dispel and one wounding to go with it.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I do have a list. It's called Let's Take a Walk, and it does include Dispel Magic, and it does include wounding for those exact reasons.
Yep.
You don't want to be caught with your pants down, I guess, for lack of better phrase, but just caught unprepared when you wish you had the Dispel Magic.
Mhm. It's a bad feeling to need the dispel and not have it.
And to not be a warlock.
Yes, because then you don't even have the excuse of like, yeah, but I've got 8 fingers of death. And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, but you're not. You don't have it. What are you doing?
Hmm.
We've talked a bunch about the archetypes already, but I want to take a moment to focus on each of them. Let's start with Warlock and work our way back.
Okay.
So, real quick, I'm going to pull up Warlock so I have it specifically. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Warlock is an archetype that says each purchase in the Death and Flame school gives double the uses, and players may not purchase verbals from any school other than Death and Flame. So, Haj, how have you used Warlock successfully? What are its big drawbacks? I think we know, but let's walk through it anyway.
So big drawback is you lose Dispel Magic, release to a smaller extent, and mend. Those are going to be the big things that you miss. I would say probably in that order of what things you will miss. But where it's really effective is you maximize your DPS output. A build where you want to consider, am I needed to dispel? If the answer is no, you can lean into Warlock. So yeah, Warlock is very effective in maximizing your DPS. Warlock also synergizes well with spell balls. I talked a little bit about the dead stop list I learned from Sev, but because Warlock does not limit you in what spell balls you can take from what schools, you are still free to take Flame and Subdual school spell balls, Entangle being one that you can combo with Drag Below, a Death School verbal. So I really like Warlock's versatility and its ability to handle many classes because there's not a lot like that's fully immune to everything you can do as a warlock. It's like if I can't death magic you, if you're a paladin
Mm-hmm.
or a monk, I can still affect your weapon as per heat weapon or pyrotechnics. And then if covered from that as an anti-paladin, well then I finger of death you or I wounding you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you done much evoking? Have you been an evoker?
I believe I've only played Evoker once. Yeah, I think I only played it one day. Maybe twice, but not so very, very little. I
Mhm.
have an Evoker kit, like full balls and everything that I made to play it just that couple times. But I have some theories about it, despite not having as much experience with it myself because I just think about the game. So one of my theories is that it's likely more advantageous for you in a longer game to not begin as in your e-barrage setting to begin just normally charging and throwing your spell balls. Now, when you notice that your team is getting pushed hard, okay, so in normally charging and throwing your spell balls, you are able to gather them, keeping
Mhm.
your quiver, so to speak, full at all times, so that when this big push does happen, you then announce, "I'm filled with the power of magic," and you let loose so that your team gives no ground. Or if your team is the one that needs to make the big push, it is then at that time that you are filled with the power of magic and you initiate with your team that big push. Yeah, I think that's probably the better, more effective way. And I've heard people speak on keeping your spell balls in the same spots so that you reliably know where they are when you're reaching for them. I think that's a great tip.
All right. Elemental Barrage allows you to, instead of charging your spell ball, to speak its name and then throw it.
Right. And then the limit on that one, I think, is you can't cast ranged verbals, right? You still get steal life.
So the Evoker, you may not purchase verbals that have a range of 20 or 50 feet. So only touch range verbals.
There's another one that like goes with that that makes barrage chargeable.
So that's what Evoker does. Elemental
Okay.
Barrage you have to purchase in addition to Evoker, and that's what actually lets you cast. So Elemental Barrage is a 6th level spell. It is a sorcery.
Right, right.
I'm filled with the power of magic. And that's what lets you throw the spell balls without charging them. It also works through being suppressed, but you can get greater released out of it.
That's right. That's right.
It's
Yep. I just couldn't think of the names.
the archetype looks more fun on paper than it is in my experience, because if you're playing Elemental Barrage like all the way through, like you're throwing every spell ball, it takes so long to pick up all those spell balls.
Yeah, you have to think about that when it comes to like your fun economy in the game. Like, how long do
Yeah.
I actually get to play versus how long am I managing my inventory?
Well, and the other thing about it is it really feels like it would be a cool thing to have much earlier. Like by the time you've leveled wizard all the way, and this is my critique of the archetypes in general, if you want to do an archetype, by the time you've leveled all the way up, you have to work your way through not having it for basically a year to have it at your park. And
Hmm.
so if you want to play Elemental Barrage, the whole point of Elemental Barrage is to not have to do all the incanting for the spell balls. And so if I have like a player roll up and it's their first day, and I just think it'd be a lot more fun to be like, hey, your look the part is an archetype. You get, because you have look the part, you get to choose an
Ooh,
archetype,
oh, that's such a cool idea.
right? And then it'd be like, okay, well, hey, it's your first day. You're gonna take Evoker. Ooh, it gives you Elemental Barrage. And the cool thing about Elemental Barrage is this is a backpack full of Force Bolts. Congratulations, I got you 15 of them. All you have to do is say, I'm filled with the power of magic, and then say Force Bolt and just, yeet that little puppy. And, now it becomes a like, that new guy on his first day is gonna have the best day of his entire life because he gets to throw,
Yeah.
you know, Force Bolt, Force Bolt, Force Bolt. You're having a grand old time. Whereas if you're, if that's the thing you want to do, like Elemental Barrage is one of the reasons I wanted to play Wizard, because it looked so cool. Like, oh, I can throw fireball. I can just be like fireball, 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 lightning bolt all over the place. It was gonna be awesome. And then I actually got to level 6. I finally got to play Elemental Barrage, and I'm like, I have leveled up Wizard all the way through, and being effective as a wizard all the way through is like a feat into itself. And if you're playing level 3 wizard and you are using your lightning bolts and you're using your fireballs when you get to 4, and you're using all these spell balls, and by the time you finally hit level 6, you're like, oh, it is not that much faster to use all these spell balls this way. Well, it is more fast, but it is not long run faster, because now I have to pick them all up. My respawn clock is like 3x to pick up all these spell balls, and I'm counting them and I'm trying
Hmm.
to keep track of where I'm putting them. And so it just ended up being a
Right.
much less fun piece for
The
me.
time isn't, yeah, the time isn't free, it's borrowed. It's kind of like in the same
Yes.
way with Priest.
Mm-hmm.
People think that like that they get this for free, that now I always have Swift, but really the time that you save in saying the rest of the resurrect or the heal incant, you now make up for in the charge incant. So the time is not free, it's only borrowed.
The only thing you're actually changing is how long the other guy is standing there for, which is the power of that
Exactly.
archetype. Is you can
Yes, and it's still good.
it's yeah, and priest works because the other guy is active while you're charging. So
Right.
you're spending the same amount of time, but you're benefiting your team by having this other guy spend less time. Whereas with Voker, you're not actually saving any time because your net time benefit is zero. Because yeah, I can just yell Sphere of Annihilation and chuck this puppy, but I have to go and pick it up with all the other spell balls. It's not actually saving that. I've got a theory crafted elemental barrage list that I haven't run anywhere because I don't want to experiment with it at Kingdom and then have a bunch of people be like, "Well, Callahan sucked at Kingdom this week. He wasn't nearly as effective, so we're not going to take him a Paragon, whatever."
The pressures of Amtgard performance, the award standardization structure,
Oh,
just
it's
oh,
terrible. I'm
it gives
afraid to try to
that
play main
pressure that you
lists.
just spoke of at all times to players.
Yeah,
That's why Belgarth is fun.
it is its own problem, and I don't see it being solved. Like, I have so much goofy things planned for when I get my Paragon that I don't feel safe in doing right now because members of
Yep,
the Paragon board have dinged me in the past for being less effective during games because I was goofing off instead of being a tryhard. And it creates an
exactly.
environment of requiring me to be a tryhard at all times. And it
It's like I
may,
can't wait to have fun.
yeah, it's like, man, I sure am excited to get my Paragon because I feel like there's a bunch of janky stuff with Warlock I want to try. Like, I want to try and do the nothing but destroy armor build, but I definitely am not going to do it until I get this Paragon done because,
Dude, this is one of the reasons y'all got to come to MAME because MAME helps to eliminate that problem right there. Because we have like 12 games a day for 3 days,
I'm
you don't
planning to
have
try to
to
be
worry
there.
so much about oh if there's only 3 games today, you don't have as much time to goof off because you know that the Paragon eyes are on you and the Battlemaster eyes are on you, so you need to perform well in all 3 of these games. So they say like, yeah, Cal was wrecking in all the games. Whereas at MAME, if there are 10 or 12 games today, it'd be like, yeah, Cal was wrecking all day. And I saw a couple of games where he was just goofing off and having fun. But it shows that you did that as a conscious choice,
Mm-hmm.
not because you're not good, right? And
Yeah,
that's one of the things I loved about MAME is that you're able to just goof off and have that little bit of like freeing relief from the constant demand that Amtgard award standardization has on players.
I also am really excited to come to MAME next year because it's out of Kingdom and thus out of scope. Like, MAME
Yes.
people could go out of their way and talk to the Rising Winds people and recommend me for stuff, but nobody at MAME is going to be watching me and being like, that guy thinks he's going to be a battle master. This guy sucks. What is he doing? No, I'm going to goof off. I'm going to play classes I've never played before. I am planning on
Nice.
coming to MAME and I'm going to play Warrior for the very first time and have no idea what I'm doing. That sounds delightful. I want to go and just goof off and have a great time. And it is frustrating because at Rising Wind events, like, there is that pressure to perform. And as someone who has very clearly stated that I want to be a battle master, I want to be a battle knight, I want to be a paragon wizard, those are things that I don't feel like I can have bad performances. And it makes those bad performances feel really bad. Like, our team got absolutely destroyed at Bridge Wars last year. And that sucked because we got done with that Bridge Wars and I'm like, our team did so bad that we only beat the pickup team. Like, we were 1-2 and like you could feel the frustration of the people because we did set like the king or was it the King's make somebody had the like the oops all polearm strategy and like shoved us back into spawn so hard it felt like nobody was doing good and it was very disheartening because it's like, okay, we came to this event, we were trying to be competitive and really show off our individual skills, and none of us got to accomplish that, and it feels like a setback, you know?
Yeah.
And so, in summary, I'm really excited for MAME next year. It's the event is only 3 hours away from my sister-in-law's house, so I'm planning
Nice.
on trying to drop off the wife and the youngins at my sister-in-law's house and then coming out to Maine.
Dude, heck yeah. And if you can't, I mean, it's a big campground. I'm sure that, there'd be space for them as well. In
4 little ones with they'll be not no 8, 7, 2, and like 9 months, and 2 and 9 months is rough to bring camping. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I trust you know what you're talking about with your family. Like you probably have it figured out what you can and can't and what you do and don't want to do.
Well, and I'm planning on bringing up 7 and 8 with me to do Dungeon Day in February next year.
Oh, sweet.
I was talking
Oh, dude,
to I was
fun.
talking to Kite about it, and I
Mhm.
was like, Kite, can I bring my kids to this event? Can they come and play? Because my kids, when I tell you that my kids are competent to play Amtgard, I mean that in a way that most people cannot say about their children or about their new players at Park. Like,
Awesome.
like my kids are
Inspiring.
they're wonderful. When I tell you that they're going to be the smallest battle masters ever, I mean it because they're doing things like finding those weird rules interactions and asking me about them. And they're like my eldest is a power gamer in the way that I am, and he's trying to figure out what he can do in different situations. And like if they weren't physically small, I could take them to Kingdom events and have them play because when we play in the backyard and we play at River's Edge, they're playing the rules as competently as adults. Now I won't claim that they are as good as adults because they are still growing and their bodies are developing and they're small people still. But as far as playing by the rules and knowing their classes, they're competent. And
Nice.
I'm insanely proud of them. Like David is well on the way to his Paragon wizard if he keeps this up. Like by the time he hits 14, I think he's going to roll up to his kingdom events and people are going to be like, "Where did this kid come from?" And I'll be like, "Haha. Look what I
Been practicing at home for the last 7 years.
we've got 7 years of wizarding practice and we're upset about it. We've decided to teach everybody." So, yeah, and my younger son, he plays a lot of assassin and is always like woundskill assassin and he's sneaking around. They're they're pincering together, they're coordinating movements, and I'm insanely proud of them. I'm so excited to bring them to Dungeon Day and get them into that because they love going to like Elk Glen up here runs adventure days where they'll do like monster scenarios and they love going to that and getting to fight all the monsters. So we're super hyped for Dungeon Day this coming February.
In the fall, I am running a caster tournament called Caster's Cup.
When is
Video
this?
might be out just before that. In September, I do believe. So this video might be out just in time for that. But if not, at least you get to have the know of it. But caster tournament called Caster's Cup that'll be held in the center of Polaris, which is about 3 hours north of the southern Wisconsin border in Tomah, Wisconsin. But
Okay.
it is a great place for casters to be able to show their individual prowess in casting in 1v1 format. Going to
Okay.
focus on spell selection and then your audibility and speed in casting the spell.
Okay. Do
I
you
think it would
know
be a great thing for you, particularly, Cal, to show your individual prowess and how you stack up against another wizard individually. And it's also a great perspective because it's going to be held in Polaris. So it would show you, particularly, what the meta is in other places and how you compare to casters in other parts of the country. I would love so much if some RW people came and just showed them like what the battle masters and what the supreme casters are like from other parts of the country. If they came here to Polaris and showed some of our people, that'd be so cool.
give me the details about that afterwards. I'll see if I can make it because that sounds super fun.
Yes, dude, I'm gonna be making posts.
What advice would you give someone starting out as a level 1 wizard?
So practice is the most important thing, and it's what it all comes back to. All these flourishes of how to be good and these aspirations you have of things you think are really good and what level you want to rise yourself to, it all comes back to practicing. And then in practicing, it comes down to being aware of yourself. So I've found a lot of times people are not aware that they are making the mistake in the first place, which makes sense. I'm not going to intentionally say something that doesn't count. I think that I'm doing it right. And that's why I'm doing it. And that's why I'm proud of myself for saying my partially. And I think I'm the fastest shover in Amtgard because I say my partially, my partially, my partially, my partially, my partially, my partially. And that's how I practice because I think I'm doing it right. When I'm in the car, I practice, but I'm noting that this is incorrect. Like in real world, my partially is not the right way to say it. But because I'm under the illusion that I am the fastest and I'm doing it correctly, I'm practicing, and how I'm practicing is incorrect. So it's really important that we have this ability to evaluate ourselves in the moment when we're on the field. And sometimes you don't have that from yourself, and you have a reeve that tells you that you missed the word. So this is where it becomes really important in practice to pay attention that you're saying and practicing all of the words. My power shoves thee. I command thee to stop. 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 My power shoves thee. My power shoves thee. So that you're being very aware of what you're practicing, so that when you are on the field, your muscle memory has already been built in your jaw and in your tongue to how it flows in those words. Because if you practice wrong, you will play wrong. So, big advice is practice, be aware of what you're practicing, and listen to the feedback that others give you with an open mind. Somebody's not telling you you did something wrong because they don't like you. It's in fact the opposite. If they tell you you did something wrong, it's because they respect you enough to tell you, and they want you to improve it because they recognize that your vision, they want you to be your vision of yourself. And it's those people who are giving you the feedback that see that in you and respect that, and they want that for you as well. So if you listen to them with gratitude and understanding that, and not in a defensive way and say like, no, I didn't, I did it right, because that won't help you. What will help you is the humility of understanding that there are ways that you can improve, and the improvement comes from practice. So practice.
Can you give me the elevator pitch for why a player should start playing Wizard?
Well, I don't really, I always feel weird telling anybody they should do anything. I think if you want to play Wizard, then you should try it. And if you like it, then do it. Do you mean like what appeal Wizard might have to
Yeah.
players? Okay. So the appeal that Wizard has is your your DPS is not measured on your physical fighting ability. It's measured now on your memory and your ability to recite incantations in an audible way. And that's what I always really liked about it, because when I first started playing, I wasn't good at fighting right away, but I could read and I could speak and I can remember. So I used those things to allow me to participate in Amtgard. Originally as a healer, but as a budding healer, I was playing Wizard in my head. Another appeal that it had coming directly from healer was that as a healer, I can only help, but as a wizard, I can be inflicting. Yes. So it's great to feel that you have the power at on the tip of your tongue. Um, and at your fingertips. You're able to speak into being your control of a situation, quite literally. I walk up onto a scenario and I am able to say, this happens to you, and this happens to you, and this happens to you. It's it's a measure of how able am I to think of these solutions, and how quick am I able to inflict this upon my victims.
Okay. That is Your pitch is so good it makes me want to go play Wizard, and I already love playing Wizard. Oh man, I wish it was Park tomorrow.
Me
Okay.
too, man. The weather was so beautiful today. I wanted to play Amtgard.
It was gorgeous. I did go play Amtgard. It was wonderful.
Lucky.
Halfway to my own Bridge Wars team, Haj. Get on my level.
Hell yeah.
Are Battle Masters made or are they bred? We're gonna find out. What advice would you give someone who's already a level 6 wizard and they want to get to that Paragon level? How can they get from pretty good to one of the best?
Well, that's just practice. So yes, practice again. Okay, so there are several things I talk with people about who are in that exact situation where I've been playing this for years. I am quite competent at it. but how do I rise up a level? So a lot of this may come into refining your skills and abilities and then discovering combos. That's actually something I wanted to touch on a little bit earlier. So I'll try to mention it quickly here. A great advantage that Wizard has, really, I guess this could have fit in multiple situations. A great advantage Wizard has is that your spells will force a different reaction from your opponents than some of your other spells. An example, if you cast Heat Weapon on someone with a sword and shield,
Mm-hmm.
the response of a knowledged Amtgarder
Mm-hmm.
is that they would hide their sword behind their shield and begin advancing towards you, the person casting on them. You can now use this motion that they've begun, this footwork movement towards you, against them by switching immediately to a spell that would not be reacted to in such a way. Calhan short, I call upon flame to heat that short, I call upon flame to heat that short, Calhan, I call upon death to smite thee, I call upon death to smite thee, I call upon death to smite thee. So in this, you have hidden your sword and you begin walking towards me into the range of my finger of death. Whereas before, you could have easily just taken a step away from it. Wizard gives you the unique ability to combo spells. It's not entirely unique because Druid has some really good setups like this too, but Bard and Healer, the setups for the combos are a lot different because you simply don't have as wide of a variety of spells to choose from. And so Wizard is able to take advantage of, well, they might react differently if I throw this at them than this. So I'll start with this, but really it's leading up to this. Wizard is a bit unique in that. Thank you. I just wanted to touch on that quickly
Yeah,
because it
that
came
was
to me
great.
and I didn't want it to be lost. So sorry, could you get me back to the original prompt, please?
Yes. What advice would you give someone who is a level 6 wizard and they want to be a paragon?
Yes. So a lot of this comes to refining your abilities, discovering your style, and standing out from the crowd. So a few ways we do this. Being noticed. You can be noticed for good or bad behavior, so you want to make sure that your behaviors are good. This comes in from practice.
Mhm.
Back to your fundamentals, back to your incants, clarity. Now, getting noticed, you do this by taking on other high level gamers. And it could be as simple as I play next to the king, but we want to take it a step above that into a prestigious area where I am. This is one reason that I like to play bounty hunter. I am trying to seek out other battle masters and remove them. I'm trying to seek out other paragons or would-be paragons, and you squash them. And you do this the same way when you are trying to be on the come up, and this will get you noticed. Absolutely. Again, you want to be noticed for your excellence and not for your shortcomings. So that's where practice comes in. And developing your style, that's going to be things that are unique to you, like your speed and your tempo in your casting, unique spell combinations you like to do. Like I like to teleport myself and then banish myself. I like to start with a heat weapon to bait someone into moving towards me so that I can punish them with a more punishing spell. I like to wounding shove people, these are my combos and this is my style. And then, do you remember the third one I said? Being noticed, your style, to agree that you are on their level.
Well, Haj, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Do you have any final advice for all of our little wizardlings before we turn you loose?
Yeah, absolutely. This is not exclusive to wizardlings. Treat others the way that they want you to treat them.
Well, a super special thank you to Archmage Hodge for coming on the show tonight. It's been so fun having you on again. We'll have to bring you back in 2026 to talk about your other three casting paragons. For our viewers at home, if you have enjoyed this talk with Hodge, get down in the comments, tell us your favorite parts, ask your questions.
I was trying to do the heart thing, but it didn't turn out right, so I just put my hand down.
Okay, fair enough. For more excellent battle gaming content, please be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.
Thanks everyone.